Because sometimes what happens, the customer number range, basically the customer number range is not equal to BP. In that scenario, what happens if the BP number is, let's say, 1, the customer number can also be 2, but they are both in sync with each other. Okay, they're both in sync with each other. Sometimes the BP number can be 1, the customer number can be 1, they're also in sync with each other, but here they're not equal to. Basically the number ranges are not equal to each other. Okay, sometimes the same can be happening for vendor also. Sometimes both the vendor and the customer can be equal to BP or can be not equal to BP. Okay, now this is a approach which will be there in terms of any kind of implementation or migration project also, whether you want to keep the BP equal to vendor or you want to keep the BP equal to the customer. Now, this will be asked by you as consultants to the clients before you go for any kind of changes in the system. Okay, and there are a few fields, there are a few tables which are used to confirm that. So you already know about a few tables as I showed you yesterday. BUT 000 is one of the tables where the business partner exists, and similarly here there is GUID, which is the link between the business partner and the customer. Because this, you copy this GUID and you enter this in KNA1, you will find the customer which is linked to that particular BP. This is the first part of it. Similarly, you can also do the same for LFA1. For LFA1 also, if you enter the GUID, it is copied from the BP. You'll find what is it? So in this scenario, this particular supplier and BUT 000, this particular BP are the same, and there's a link between the two. I'm trying to find the GUID where I need to enter GUID, because the GUID is here. I will deselect all and I will execute this. This is the GUID. Normally this GUID should be present in KNA1, but there is no point because KNA1 is not needed. Okay, there is a, not this table, my bad. There is CVI cast link table in which the GUID will be there. Yeah. So similarly, what happens is when I go to BUT 000 and I enter the business partner number that I've created, there, if I take the GUID, I deselect all the entries, select this one, execute it. I copy this number. Once I copy this number, I'll go back and I'll go to CVI cast link. Now, in this case, this is an LFA1 table. I mean, I've created BP as a vendor, so I'll take the CVI vend link, right, and enter the GUID here. Then we can find our supplier, which is basically our vendor, the same. In this scenario, I've taken a number range which is equal to the vendor, so the same number have come, and in also the BP will find that number here. Okay, I'll show you this entire process how I've done and how I've proceeded with it. So the first part of creation of a BP is you basically have to do a few configuration steps, and that those configuration steps I have done here. I'll send you the document so that it is helpful to all of you to create the entire system from scratch. So the first step is you have to create the LFA1 side of things. Now first of all, I create the BP as a vendor, and I will show you the LFA1 side of things, which is basically the on the vendor side. Now all these settings are being done. Remember, whenever in the heading you find this LFA1, please know that we will be doing or will be doing all the changes from the existing ECC model of things. Okay, the path will be that. For example, they define the account groups with screen layout for vendors, which is basically the old account group settings. Okay, we'll be syncing both the old vendor with the new BP. Okay, that is how the BP configuration is done. So whenever the BP table is updated, also the LFA1 table will also be updated equally. So let's do it. First of all, we'll go to financial accounting. We'll go to financial accounting. Okay. For financial accounting, we'll go to account receivable and account payable. Okay. From here, now this time we're talking about suppliers, that is vendors. We'll go to supplier accounts, master data. Okay. Preparations for creating supplier master data. And here we have the account group with screen layouts. Okay. Now here we can also find out the T code of this particular transaction. If you are having, like, for example, going to SPRO path, sometimes it becomes difficult. So what you do is go to display technical info. Here you can see the OBD3. OBD3 is the same T code as this particular path. But also, if you want to find the exact T code, there is another place where you can do it. I think in some 30, I think. Hmm. I'll tell you, there is one more T code which can be used to check it. Can't remember the place. So there in that T code, when you enter this value, it will show you actually. So for OBD3 also, you can do the same thing. Go to OBD3 and you will find the same transaction for vendor. For customers, is OBD2. Okay. So execute it. So here what you do is basically you are creating a new vendor account. You're creating a new vendor account group actually. So yesterday I had created these two. I urge you guys to create your own account groups. So create an account group. Okay, go to, this is the one that I created. Nothing, I've used just the time. I've entered the details of my account group and I've done it. This is for the import one, import vendor. This I've created for the domestic vendor. So I'll just show you how to create it. Go to new entries and enter the account group, any account group that you want. For example, um, ZAST. I'm just saying, okay, ZAST, and enter your details. That's it. Okay. Create two account groups of your own. Create three, whatever you like. That's the first step. You see, create the account group: domestic, indoor, import customer, domestic customer, and then save it. Okay. The next step is creating number ranges for vendor accounts. Okay. The number ranges are important. So creating number ranges for vendor accounts. Second part is right here. Go here. Now remember, you can do the same thing with SNRO. So you go to SNRO, and in SNRO, if you enter the object name as creditor, you can do the same changes here. You can do the same changes here. Okay, from here you can change it. Okay, interval editing. Also same thing you can do from here. So go back. Again, I'm going one step back, closing this. So here, if I go to intervals, directly you'll go to the number ranges. Now here I had created two number ranges. for TE and TR. TE is basically for one of those time, and other one is TMIR. So for time I had created TE, and for TIMR I have created TR. Now remember, you have to always make sure that all the other number ranges are okay when we are creating one. For example, there were overlapping number ranges. Make sure that they are not there. Okay. You can see the NR status of these two are 0 because none of these number ranges have yet been created. Okay. Um, but also we have got one BP created. I think for this number should have been one. I don't know. It has not been updated yet. Okay, I have created one BP yesterday, so I have to check why it is not updated. But yeah, the NR status should have been updated here. Okay. So anyways, the point here is that these two number ranges are created. Now nothing, just go to plus sign here. Enter the any number range number you want. It should not be equal to whatever is here. So you can enter, let's say BU, for example. Okay. When I press enter, you see there will be no error. Yeah. BU has taken a number range automatically. Here you can enter a 4 and then a 5. So when you enter it, there will be no errors. Okay. Not needed. I'm deleting this. You also do the same thing when creating the number ranges. So here also I've updated. Okay, create the number ranges. I've created two number ranges, TE and TR. Okay, now this is something that you need to understand. See here in the initial picture I have not taken the tick signs, but here um, you'll see the tick signs are there, and I will tell you why. Okay, why the tick signs are there, I will tell you. As of now I will take a print screen and I'll put it here, so you have both the options with you. um, okay, the tick mark I have entered here. um, Now you'll understand why this is important, because when we are creating BP later, you will know that it is important that we have these external marks ticked, especially when we are doing same numbers. So the BP number ranges should not be ticked and the LFA1 number ranges should be ticked. Okay, and we'll get to that later, right? I'll remove this part also, or I will keep this part just for your reference. Okay. Next one is assign number ranges for vendor account groups. Okay. Now the first part was defining the account group for the vendors. Account group we entered is TMIR and TMIE. Then we creating the number ranges for the vendor accounts, and finally now assigning the number ranges for vendor account groups. So I'll go back. So TETR is created, TIMR. Now I'll do one thing and also try to have this in an Excel sheet so that it will be easier for you to understand. So one is TIMR and one is TIME. TIME is for the import customer. This is export customer. Hmm. For this, we have the number range is TE and this is TR. Okay. This is account group. This is number range. So we can get back to it whenever we want to check it. Okay. Okay. Now the next part is assigning. So we'll go to the assignment. Go back one step. Okay. So here you can see assign number ranges to vendor account groups. Select that. Now here, if I go to position, enter your account group TIME, you see these two are assignment is done. So exact thing that I've shown in the Excel sheet, basically they're assigned to each other like this. Okay. Just assign, just enter the account group and enter the number range, the assignment would be done. Now these are the same things that we have done before also in ECC when creating number ranges for customers. Right now, these are there are limited steps that we're doing, not everything, but this is the one part of it. So once the assignment is done, nothing is within this, just enter it. And so here you just need to enter the time, account group, and the number range. Go back. Same thing here. I've mentioned it. See, yeah, mentioned. Now we define the BP role. Now the LFA1 part is done. We are not doing anything in the old LFA1 part anymore. Now we are going directly to BP. For BP, the SPRO path will actually change. So remove this entire path, financial accounting. Now everything happens in cross application components. Go to cross application components, SAP business partner. Okay, and from this business partner, basic settings. Okay, and then from here you will find all the definition that needs to be done. Now here in the presentation you can see here I have defined the BP roles. Okay, now this is a new concept of BP where we define the different kind of roles that BP actually has. Now what is the purpose of it? Now remember, a BP is a very versatile object, and it can be used as many things, and that is the reason why BP has been used widely now presently by most of the companies. And also S4HANA asks the companies to use BP more widespreadly because it is much more versatile in terms of usage. You see here a BP can be used as a freelancer. The same BP can be used as a freelancer. That same BP can be used as an account holder. And these roles define that within one BP, we can use multiple, um, what do I say, multiple roles that we can assign to it. The role itself is a role. For example, a person can play the role of a father, can play the role of a brother, as a friend. Same thing BP is doing. Okay, and also we have BP categories which defines us that the BP can be used as an individual, as a customer, as a vendor, or even a group of companies, which was not there before. So for example, if there's one more point that is important, so let's say the VP, if the customers are same as a vendor, okay, then an advantage would be that we don't need to create the customer and vendor separately. We can create one VP and extend the roles uh, to the customers and the vendors basically. So let's say if that, so sometimes what happens, the same vendor who is supplying you any material can also buy things from you. So why create two separate master data for it? Create one BP and extend the roles to both of them. That is one thing. Okay, and also the information. You have seen when we created the BP, there were two parts of it: the general data of it, and then there were company code data and sales area data. So in the general data, you create common information, but there are information in company code and sales area data which is specific to that particular customer. Right, it depends on the role as well. So that is one thing. And finally was the part where we can easily integrate with other systems. For example, if the GTA system is there, there is a global trade system, so the CRM system is there. Okay, so it basically allows us, the GTS part allows us for import and export. So here also for BP it's very easy to use GTS, and when integrations are happening it becomes easier to use BP rather than having two different master data. Right? All in one, all encompassing master data is so much way easier, and also for relationships is very helpful, right? So there are some standard BP roles. I'll just show you those roles here. FLCU00 is one of the role which you need to understand, is the FI role, where the company code details will come if you enter this role in the BP. For sales area data for SD people, that is the for the customer. Both are important for SD because company code information is also important perspective of the OTC, the order to cash for SD. So these two are a part of company code and sales area data for the BP. Okay. Similarly, for supplier, that is for vendors, we have got. There was one lady yesterday was asking me about the ME21 or the vendor part of it. So this is the role for the vendor, the supplier, which is for the purchasing data and the company code data for the supplier. These four are very important. And finally, we have got something called the UKM 000, which is for the credit management data. UKM 000. This is also very important. UKM 000. Okay. Now, if you go inside, you will find that for all the BP roles, if you go inside, you'll find that there is a role category assigned to it. The role category gives you basically nothing but a further hierarchical definition of what the role is basically about. For example, there is a if for an employee this role is important, BUP 000 003. Okay, for a vendor this role is important. Hmm? Mm, what about us? UKM 000. You'll find I think in the last. See, it is relevant for credit management. Sometimes some roles fall under a category. We're just putting the category here, nothing else. Okay. And sometimes when you are not selecting this value, you get an error. So standard assignment role to BP role to BP. This is just a setting that you need to check. Several roles can be assigned to a role category. You have to define one BP role as a standard role. That is why you have to select that. So if one BP role, if this is a standard BP role which is assigned to category, it has to be done. Okay, there can be multiple. Another thing is there can be several roles that can be assigned to a role category, but one has to be a default one. That is why it is here. And here also you can see additional roles that can be assigned here. If you want to add additional roles, you can assign the additional roles, and then you can make that a standard as well. Okay, either this one is a standard or maybe select multiple and select the standard here. Okay, and finally is the interface control, how the view should be. This is an internal um, how the BP view should look like is what the interface control is there. These are all standards, nothing to work on here. Same is the case for all the other ones. If you go to FLCU 00, here also you find the same thing. Okay, I've made so I had created another role actually, and I've added that here as a role to this particular role category. Okay, you can put other roles here, not necessarily that you have to use this role only. You can put other roles here and make that a standard, and that is why did not have to tick anything here. Okay, now if I go to my one which I created, what I did was I basically, since I'm using the vendor information, or I'm talking about LFA one, what you can do is you can just always select this one and copy it. When you copy it, all the information naturally comes to you. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to again work on it, right? And then you create a, what is it called, the your own kind of setup. So you can put here TP VN triple double zero. That is your own BP role that you can use later. Okay, I have created mine. Scroll down. TL. See, these two I have created. These two is my creation in terms of the BP role for the supplier. So one is, as I said, the 001 is the purchasing data of the BP, and 101 is the company code data of the BP, which is the vendor. So here this is for the company code data, and here you can see a standard is there because I have not selected this as standard. Okay. Similarly, here also you can see a standard check is there, and this is the BP assigned to it. Right. So this part is clear. Just always copy the standard, no need to change anything. Just make sure that the standard is ticked, the role category is assigned, and that's it. You don't have to think about this much because this is not needed as of now. Go to new entries, and also you can go to new entries and do it. Okay, copying is the best option. So we have got this part sorted. We have defined our BP roles. BP roles, as I said, multiple roles of one BP, which makes it versatile. Next one is the defining number ranges. For number ranges, go back. Okay, there are
Hi,
a few more.
Siddharth.
Sorry.
Uh,
Hmm.
uh, yes, Siddharth, there's a slight confusion with
Hmm.
the BP role and
Hmm.
category.
Hmm. Hmm.
Uh, um, so can you
Category. See,
explain
it's
me that?
it's like, for example,
Hmm.
I hope you have done. See, you will answer it yourself. I don't have to answer it. Also, see. I'll go to inquiry. What is this? You tell me. Inquiry. You remember this, right? Document type,
Yeah, yeah.
right? In document type, this is inquiry, right? Now, this is a document category. Tell me what the document category is. Anyone remembers what the document category is about?
Document category tells us what it is, like it's a sales order or
Correct.
a contract.
Correct. See here,
Sale query or quotation or such kind of.
right? So, this is inquiry. So, A will naturally be there. Just to define it further, if I go to, let's say, um, standard order. In standard order, the category is C because this is a part of order. Similarly, if I go to another order, let's say, and okay, what is a rush order? What is a rush order? Pooling order. This is another type of an order, but still the category is C. So to answer your
Yeah,
question,
Siddharth. Yeah, Siddharth. See, the document type INQT that we can copy and we can create our own document types, right?
right?
So we can make it as YIN, YZIN, something like that.
Yes,
But it is the document category with which system will understand whether it is actual inquiry or sales order or credit memo request or debit memo
right,
request.
right,
So that is how the system will understand.
right. So that is the exact thing. Thank you for your answer. Um, that is the exact thing how we are doing here for BP roles. The category is nothing but just defining what it is. Okay, BP role categories. Just defining, but categories also have a separate definition. You define all the categories as well. Similarly, you define the roles, you define the categories, right? And also for a, let's say this is a vendor. This is not important. BP categories and BP roles are important, and all the categories are there, and all the BP roles are there. Multiple roles can be assigned to one single category. It's like a hierarchy basically. For example, one category of food is, let's say, dog food. Dog food might have multiple different kind of Labrador dog food or Husky dog food or Pomeranian dog food. Yeah. So these are different roles of the same category. Clear? I hope it's clear now.
Yeah, yeah, Siddharth.
Uh,
Thanks.
okay. So our BP roles are now done. The next part of the configuration lies in the defined number ranges. We can directly go through BUCF, but I will not go through BUCF. I'll use the SPRO path. For the SPRO path here this time, we are going to number ranges and groupings. Okay. So go back to basic settings, and here remove the business partner roles and go to number ranges and groupings, and here you can define the different number ranges. Remember SNRO mein, if you enter BU partner, then also the same thing. If you enter the creditor in SNRO, then that's a different thing. Now why it is important, sometimes every time going to SPRO path becomes difficult, so remembering this becomes easy. Okay, go to interval, and here I also created another one. See, here I have created TE and TR. Now remember, in this scenario for the vendor and BP, we are creating the same number ranges, and we are creating the same number for the BP and the vendor. That's why I've used the same exact number range, T and TR. Don't confuse it with the other one. For the other one, in the sense, for LFA1 we also use T and TR. Now the settings that we are doing for BP. Okay, for BP we are using the description. I will show you how the next part is done. And here the NR is also TE and TR. So don't get confused, because in this scenario the numbers are same. Okay, so don't get confused. So going back here, so I had created the number range. Okay, now as I was saying, which I told you that yesterday I had created one of what is called the document, one of the BPs. See here, one BP is created and the NR status has been updated. So the NR status is updated in the BP and not in the other one. Okay, in LFA1 it is not updated in the terms of the NR status. The NR status is always updated in BP and it is shown here. Now here is one question: why is it's 101 is the first number, but here 110 is the number that is created? Because there is a gap that is defined in the settings. So every number will be 10 after the other, something like that. Okay, that is why this is the first NR status number that has been generated, or is the last one possibly. But even for the last one, I created only one BP. So even for the last one is the first one in this scenario. Even it's 1110. I think there is a gap of 10 that is being maintained. Okay. So here in TE and TR, we can see that the external number is not checked, but in the account groups LFA1 it was checked. Okay. This is a necessary setting that needs to be done in order to sync both of them together. Okay. And you will understand why we are doing it. So the number range is created. Okay, now again you see here the number range is created. I've entered all those details here, so whenever I go into the PPT it will be easier for you. This is I've mentioned also. If you want to create the BP code supplier as the same as LFA1, then give the number range which is given to the account number range, account group number range. Basically the same LFA1 number range, not account group, LFA1 number range. So this will give us the same values I've mentioned here. The next part is define the groupings and assigning the BP. Very below that number range is something called define groupings and assigning number ranges. So I'll go back one step, and here you can define groupings and assign the number ranges. Here what happens is you basically go for the search option. And here you can enter time. So once you enter time and TIMIR, in this case also don't get confused, I've taken the same values, which usually is not the practice, but you can still do that. So time and TIM are for the BP. But what am I entering here is for BP. What I'm entering is the BP grouping. So what is equivalent to account group is BP grouping. Again, roles are different. Okay, there are a few things. There are BP categories. There are BP roles, and then there are BP groupings. Groupings help us is works same as an account group in the previous thing. Okay, what was an account group? Account group is basically defining the very character of that particular customer, in the sense that what would be the fields in there, what fields are compulsory, what fields are suppressed, what fields are hidden. If you remember in account groups, those settings were there in the general data, in the company code data. In account groups we could have handled that. Same in BP grouping also we can handle it. So BP grouping is the account group of the previous customer and the vendor. So in this case, we have taken the same BP grouping and the same account number, but both are different. This is for the LFA1 part and this is for the BP part. Remember this. Okay. Now here when you are entering when you go to new entries now, for example, when you are entering this, even if you search it you won't find it. So what you do is you go to new entries and enter your own grouping. There is no other place to create the grouping. The grouping is created here only. So go to new entries, create your own grouping, enter your names, enter short name, enter description, and enter the number range with which you want to sync the grouping. So in this scenario, we had already in the last step created TE and TR. I've just assigned it to time and TIMR. That is the import customer, sorry, the domestic customer and the import customer. Clear? So now I'll go back to the PPT. Created, okay, and saved it.
Siddharth,
Yeah.
I have a question like this BP grouping, BP role, and this account group, everything is different. You just given the same number, name, right?
Yeah,
We can
number
change the
can be
name
different.
also.
Yeah, you can make it anything you want. The
Mm.
reason for
Oh.
me giving it is to make it simpler for my client.
Mhm.
Okay. And
Mhm.
sometimes the client will say, okay, I want the customer and the BP number range to be same. Sometimes if they're
Okay,
master data, yeah.
mhm. No, number range, okay, but your name also you're giving different, right? A time, same, sorry, same you're giving.
Yes.
BP grouping name also same, account group name also same, and even BP roles also same you have given. But we can give different also, right?
Yes.
Only for you. Okay, then.
Yes, you can give it. See, as I
Okay,
told
okay.
you, no,
Thank
there are
you.
multiple scenarios where the
Mm.
customer is equal to BP. Basically, the numbers I'm talking
Mhm.
about. Vendor is equal to BP. Hmm. Sometimes customer is not equal to BP.
Mhm.
What do
Okay,
you do?
thank you.
So there are in multiple scenarios we behave differently. Okay. In this scenario, since it is the same, we're talking about this scenario. So I've taken it as same. I'll show you another example where I've taken it differently. Don't worry. Okay.
Okay, here you take an example like customer and vendor is same like that you're
This is not
taken, so
this.
you're
No, no,
taking the
no, no,
same group.
no, no. Here I've taken an example where vendor is equal to BP.
Oh, sorry,
See,
vendor.
when you are changing, when you are migrating, when you are implementing, the client sometimes might have no, they might say, okay, I have created multiple vendors, you make it same. They will depend on their business justification. Okay,
Okay,
because
okay,
BP is all encompassing. Remember that. For example, a vendor, let's say, is from 1 to 10, but a customer, let's say, is from 1 to 10. But a customer, let's say, but a customer, let's say, is from um, A1 to Z2. Okay, but there's only one BP, and in that BP, I want to maintain both customer and vendor. Which one do I use? Which number should I sync it with? Should I use the vendor number? Should the BP be 1 or should the BP be A1? Or should I use another thing altogether? Let me use AA, right? That decision will depend on the client. You have to explain what are the various differences if I do this, do that. Okay, whoever is more, usually what happens, whichever is more, if the customers are more, then I will try to use customer number ranges and the BP number range. I will sync that. Sometimes they're not same at all. Why this issue is coming is that BP is being used as we can have multiple roles in the BP. We can use that as customer, we can use that as vendor, we can use it both. So that is the reason why CVI integration, especially the number range adjustment before any kind of migration and implementation becomes so critical. Because later tracking them becomes difficult also later if you do not do it correctly. Okay.
okay. Thank you.
So now if I go to define groupings, now the groupings are defined. Okay. I've already showed you. Okay, 1 minute. Yeah. Next part is the now comes. Now we have all defined. If I go, if you look at the Excel sheet, the definition is done. The definition is done. This part. Okay. Now comes the
Siddharth,
master.
one
Yeah.
question in that grouping, there is internal grouping. There are three more options was there, right? Can you go back to yeah, define grouping and assign that the last three options,
Hmm. Hmm.
internal standard grouping, external
Hmm.
standard grouping.
Hmm.
Can you explain it, what it,
See, as of now, you don't need to dwell on this. It's not relevant at this point of time. It will come at a later point of time, which is when it is needed. What is usually used is the external part, till the external part. Okay. Now for the internal standard grouping, this is another explanation. If we, it will stretch a longer if we do it. As of now, it's not important. Just focus till the external part of it. This is what will be needed for the synchronization of BP and customer. Okay. But if you want some more details, I can send you a note separately for this for internal grouping and external standard grouping. But it's very similar to what we did yesterday. I mean, not yesterday, a few minutes earlier, where the standardization was there. No, a standard which is given to a category and the standard which is given to the roles like that. Some standard groupings are there. Okay. Okay. So now the next part is the master synchronization, which is also in the cross application components. So we'll go to cross application components. Okay, next part is the customer vendor integration, and then settings, business partner settings. Settings for vendor integration, field assignment for vendor integration, assign the keys of vendor integration, and then define number assignment for from vendor BP to vendor. Here it is. Define the number assignment for the direction BP to vendor. Define number assignment for direction BP to vendor. Select this. Now this is where we are actually assigning both the LFA1 account group and the BP grouping. Okay. Here it will be difficult for you to understand. Here it will be easier for you to understand. On the left side is the BP grouping. On the right side is the KNA1. So see, time is assigned to time and TIMR assigned to TIMR, and same numbers is selected. Same numbers is selected. So here also, if you select here TIMR, see TIMR is assigned to TIMR with same numbers, and this is only possible if the account group of the LFA1 is selected as external. Otherwise, same numbers will not be activated. Just remember this logic. Okay. Similarly, for TIME, this is given. Okay. So just limit yourself to whatever is here. Don't go to the other fields as of now. The other fields will come in when we will get errors. Especially during the migration process, the flexible grouping also sometimes comes into play, but not always. So don't worry about the other fields. Just concentrate on the fields that are there. Especially the same numbers and the external fields will be sufficient for us to do the migration and also to do the BP configurations. Yeah. Right. So this is done. As you can see, this has been saved, and I've also mentioned it. If you get this error now, let's say I've entered same numbers, the number range for account group has not been defined externally. And this account group, they're talking about the LFA1 assigned account group, and that's why I've made the change. I made it external. Remember, I told you in the beginning of the PPT that we have to make an external one. So I've made an external, and then you see the error is gone. No more error. Save the document, it's done. Okay. Now finally is the creation of BP. To create the BP, you just I'll just create the BP for you. /n BP. After you create you can create it as an organization. You go to organization. Now here you can put times group or CGI, let's say. Grouping. Now this is the part that we understand. Grouping here is the account group basically of the older versions. So in the grouping, you can enter your group, which is TIMR or the TIME. Okay. So for domestic vendor is different, for import vendor is different. You create the grouping. I can use TIMR this time. Okay. Now that 00000 is the general BP role, which is always assigned, because general data will always be there, whatever you create. Okay. So this is created. The next part is you have to fill up the details. What details you have to fill up? You have to fill up the city XXX, or let's say Hyderabad. Everybody is from Hyderabad here, right? I guess, or Bangalore.